let's talk about boundaries because I feel like many women are sold this idea that saying no and putting yourself first is a crime. Now, I was once a woman who didn't even know the concept of what a boundary is. And when I talk about boundaries, I'm talking about being able to be steadfast in your values and your morals and not allow anyone to bend or overstep those standards, values, or morals you may have. So, a lot of us as women, we grow up in households where we are conditioned. And when I say conditioned, I mean there is this very this deep conditioning that has happened for many generations to many women, where women have to deal with being told that, hey, be the daughter that takes care of everyone. And especially if you are like a firstborn daughter, you probably might be the kind of person who's been told that take care of the family, be everything for everyone before you can be something for yourself. So when you then start to become an adult, it becomes difficult for you to put yourself first. And that to me is the most painful journey, because you start to lose sense of who you are and your femininity. Feminine energy does not grow in an environment where you are depleted, where your energy is constantly being taken, it's being siphoned. A woman in her feminine needs to bask in an area where she is poured into and she's able to grow. And it's kind of like watering a plant. Your feminine energy is like how you would be nurturing a plant and ensuring that that plant is taken care of. But when you're constantly giving yourself, giving your time, giving your energy, you are depleting yourself. So essentially, why do we struggle with boundaries? I don't think it's because women or men are naturally weak or because we don't love ourselves enough. I think for many of us, it's because with that conditioning, we've learned that love had to be earned through sacrifice. We learned that being good meant making everyone else comfortable, even if it meant abandoning ourselves. Eventually, saying yes became more safer than saying no. And that always registers something within your body, within your nervous system. Over time, that conditioning teaches your mind and body that, oh, I'm only safe if I constantly deplete myself, if I constantly give of myself. But here's what I've been learning: boundaries are actually an act of trust. Every time you set a healthy boundary, you're saying, I trust that God can take care of this relationship better than my people pleasing can, right? I trust that God can take care of me way more than, way, can take care of me way more in this relationship than me trying to please everyone for the sake of safety. You're trusting that disappointing someone is not the same as dishonoring them. You're trusting that your worth isn't determined by how available you are to everyone. And if we get into a more biblical sense of setting boundaries, on the very most clearest examples, Matthew 5, verse 37, Jesus says, let your yes be a yes and let your no be a no. That's a remarkably simple instruction. He doesn't say every request deserves a yes. He teaches honesty, integrity, and clarity. Another example in a biblical sense is Mark 1 verse 35 to 38. Jesus often withdrew to solitary places to pray. Even when crowds wanted him, he didn't meet every demand. He wasn't driven by guilt or people's expectation. He was guided by his purpose. That's an important distinction. Even Jesus himself didn't say yes to every request. He loved people deeply, yet he still withdrew to rest, to pray, and to remain aligned with his purpose. Now, when we can talk about purpose and femininity, and when I speak about feminine energy, I'm not talking about energy that is gender specific, right? I'm talking about something that is gender neutral, right? Feminine energy lives in man and woman. So you can't really tune into your purpose. You can't really trust what is meant to be unfold within you if you cannot create those boundaries. If Jesus needed boundaries around his time and energy, why do we think we have to be available for everyone all the time? Another beautiful verse I think aligns with what I'm saying is Galatians 1 verse 10. Paul writes, Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or that of God? That verse goes straight to the heart of people, and more so women and men who tend to be people pleasers. Talking also to directly to women, because women always fall back when it comes to their femininity and just standing up for themselves. The feminine is on the rise, and it is time for us to stand up and take it on, right? Take it on fully. Many of us aren't actually struggling with boundaries. We are struggling with the notion of approval, acceptance, and validation. We fear that if we disappoint people, we'll lose the love. But scripture reminds us that our identity comes from God and not from everyone's opinion of us. Instead of feeling like your essence is about pleasing and softness, I believe a healthy feminine spirit flourishes where there is safety, wisdom, and trust. When you're constantly abandoning yourself to keep everyone else happy, you're living from a place of fear rather than peace. God speaks of it. He says we should not fear. We should never live in fear, and it is an instruction. Boundaries create room for peace, and peace creates room for you to become a woman God is shaping you to be.